why we use Suitelet is because in order to create an user interface, or in order to create something like a web store, so we can use both as to create a sample forms, like how you have a sales order, right? So sales order form is there, right? So once you click on sales order, you will be redirecting to the page. So this is the standard NetSuite page, right? You go to the sales orders. Similar to sales orders, if you want to create a form, and you have to have that outside of the login, right? Like if you have a login, then you can create a sales order, right? So normally,
Yes.
but creating a sales order without having a login, is something where we need to work on is Suitelets, right? So it depends totally on the requirement, and if someone is looking for something like a form of a customer or a lead, right? Or if a
Yeah.
client is asking you to create a form similar to any vendors or list, like an estimate or opportunity, and he don't want to he want to have that that page, that page, even though if you don't have a login access, you want to have that link, that page. So in these situations, we will be using a Suitelets to create, uh, you know, a forms or a web services, or assistant page. So let me just give you an example here. So this is a Suitelet, right? Suitelet call where we are adding fields. We can add a fields, add a buttons, similar to this form. We can add a fields. How you have field, right? This is a fields. This is also a field, inline field. This is an inline field. All the data you're seeing is an inline field, which is associated to one field. So inline HTML field, we can attach, and we can add a sublist as well here. How you have body and level, right? Normally, if you open any record, you will be having body and line level. So similarly, even in the Suitelet, you can add body level fields and line level fields as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So as we are having different types of methods. First method is Suitelet is of forms. So how to create a form similar to a sales order or estimate, right?
Hmm.
And how to create assistant page. That is also one thing. So here, so let me just explain a sample example here. So we have a request and response. Okay. So what does request and response do here? So it is something like when you are requesting something, right? When you click on a button, when you click on a link, whatever, when you create a Suitelet, normally you will be generating a link, right? So if you click on that link, then the method will be triggered is get method, okay? And the post method, we will having only two types of methods in Suitelet, get and post. So when will be the get triggered and when will be the post triggered? So here's the thing. Now, so when you go to the deployment page, normally if you remember, if you want to create a script and you have to deploy in a record, right?
Yes.
Like applies to whether it's a sales order or purchase order. Here you don't have to deploy it on it because it's a screen. It is itself a screen. It generates an URL. If you open this URL, you will be seeing this list. You will be seeing the screen. So what does the screen mean? This is something like a record, right? It looks something like a record, but it's not a record. It's just a screen where if you enter any of the data, you can store in a custom records whatever you entered, right? So
Yeah.
same link will be given. This is internal link. If you have a login, you can use this link. If you don't have a login, even though you can use this link, right?
Yes.
So by using this, whatever the data you entered, like let's say if I'm selecting a customer, I'm selecting a date, I'm selecting some text, I'm adding a lines. So here we don't have an option to add a lines, right? Normally in sales order, you can able to add a lines, right?
Yeah.
You can add items, but here we don't have option. So why we are not having the option is the sublist is of three types or four types. One is we can add directly by how we have in NetSuite. The other way is list. List is something it comes automatically. You can't just add it. You have to push it on the script. So let me just give you an um, the explanation of the script. How we added these fields. How to add sublist. How to add body level fields. How to alignment. You can see the observe. You can observe here. We are not having the fields in a correct format, right? It's a different pattern. First
Yeah.
text is coming, then date, then customer, right? And there is a break here. There is a break here. There is a break here, right? So how we are doing that? Okay. Okay. To add, to add a form to a field, first we need to create a form, right? First we need to create a form by using the API, NL API create form. You can give your own name, like sales order. Okay. So by using the form object, we will be creating a field. Okay. We'll be creating a fields like form dot add field, right? So this means that you're adding a field. This means that you're adding a field of a type, body level fields. So what are you adding? This is a label. So the parameters for this is field ID, type, and label. So field ID is nothing but you know whatever the field is having the ID, right? So because if you don't have the field ID, can you able to get that information without having an ID? No, right? Every
Yeah.
field must have an ID to get the information, right? So
Yes.
unique ID. Even you can't have duplicates as well. So you have to give your own ID. But in NetSuite, normally in a standard way, you can provide if you are creating any fields, you can give your own IDs or you can leave it as blank, right? NetSuite generates it the IDs. So you can copy by clicking on this, right? If you go to this and you can see the discount rate, this is a field ID, right? But here we don't have an option to click on this, right? Because it is not stored in the NetSuite. It is just available in the screen and it is only available in the script. The field ID can be seen only by you, not by others. Okay? Because
Yes.
you are creating a screen, you are adding a fields, so that's the reason you can able to see field ID and what's the type of it. Okay? So type means what does the type means? Type means field type, whether it's a text or list by record or checkbox or a date or select, right? These are the
Yeah.
types, right? So and like the next parameter is text and like label. What you are giving label. So now we see that, and the next parameter is on which so like we can create a field groups. Okay, field groups are nothing but if you go to the sales order, you see everything is there in one field group. This is a field group, right? Remember? Do you know field groups? If you customize a form, so one, two, three. These are the fields which are applicable for only primary information, right?
Yeah.
Sales information has four fields. Classification has different fields. If you want to segregate into different fields, we can just use this API called form dot add field group. That means you are adding a field group.
Yeah.
Okay. So by using this field group, you can add, you can add it on, the fields because if you are referring to one field group, that means you're adding this, right? So
Yes.
let me give you an overall explanation in functional side. So if you go to the form and customize it, then you will be redirecting to this page, customization of form. And if you go to the field groups, you will be seeing that list of field groups, right? Primary information, sales information, classification, right? Primary information, sales information, classification. So in order to add a field groups, we have to add here. Similarly, in scripting, you have to add an API. You have to use an API called form dot add field group, and you have to give a type, sorry, ID of a group, and then label of a group. This means you are segregating into particular, groups into a field. So if you want to, if you want to have in a field group, you want to have some fields, right? So you have to use this field ID in types of field groups. So if you don't want to have any field groups, what you can do is you can ignore this because everything will be there in one place, right? This is
Yes.
not mandatory. Field group is not mandatory. It will be used whenever it required, whenever it is required, right?
Yes.
So this coming to the next field, date field. I want to add a field, and you will be using the same API. This is, you remember one thing. Only we have to use and form dot add fields to add a field. That's the only one API in Suitelets. Okay. The ID for the parameters is ID, type, and label. Type is nothing but field type. So if you see here, this is the type free from text. You can type anything, right? This is a free from
Yes.
text. And the second field is date. You can only give date now. You can't give anything apart from this, right? So if you give anything, it goes into this. So automatically it takes. If you give anything, it says that invalid date value.
Yes.
So that's a standard field because you don't have to validate a field whether it's a date or not, right? So
Yes.
NetSuite gives automatically. You can just use that date. And what I'm doing is field dot set layout type. That means I can use this as something like a layout option where I want to keep it as. I want to keep it as a column break. That means I want to have it in a first place. If I use start call, that means starting of the column, I want to add this. And also if you see customer is coming in not here. It's coming in here. That means you're using customer as a start call, right? You see, in between that we have one field. So then I have added currency, so you can add a currency here. Currency in the sense, so it will goes to the rate mode. If you give 8 and if you move from this field, it will be taken as 8.00. It's a currency. Okay. And customers, how to add a NetSuite customers, right? Now, as you can see here, if you open the list, okay, if you open the list of a customer field, you will be seeing a list of customers which are already there in the NetSuite, right? How to
Yeah.
add this? How to add internal values? How to outsource the existing NetSuite, values? So here is the thing: you have to use select in place of text, right? In place of type, you have to
Yeah.
use select. And then what you want to select, right? What you want to I want to select a customers. Then you have to give customer. If you want to have vendors, you can give vendor, right? So in
Yeah.
such way, you can just give. And if you want to have a sales orders list, if you want to have purchase orders list, what you can do is you can use transactions. That means all the transactions will be coming, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it totally depends on list to a record, right? If you go to the forms and add a fields, do you know how to create a fields,
Yes.
right? So if you select the list by record, then it will be enabled, right? If you select only list by record, then this field will be enabled, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, if you use only select, the next operator will be coming. If not, it won't be coming. If you're using date field, you can't give a customer now, right? So it's similar to how NetSuite works, right? Do you get
Yes.
my point? Yeah. And okay, now we are able to add existing customer value, customers and stuff, right? Now, how about adding just a sample list? I want to add a sample list, right? So to add a sample list, what we have to use is select and then just give a label, directly a label. Okay. So here, um, names you can give. This is a label. So if you want to have something like internal values, then you can use the value here, customers. If you're not having anything, you can just remove as blank. Then you have to add form this select object dot add selection option of internal ID value. This is an ID for Albert. This is an ID for Baron. So C is an ID for Chris. Okay, and the parameter is internal ID and label. So if you use select and and the next parameter as blank, then you have to add your own values. To add your own values, you have to use the return variable of a form of form object. This return variable of a select object will be adding that select dot add selection option. This means that you're adding newer values.
yeah,
Okay, and these are all about body level fields. And coming to the next, the lower part of the portion is adding line level fields, right? So
yeah,
to add a line level fields, we have a type called form dot add sublist. This means that you have to add a sublist. So for the sublist, if you want to add, you have to add internal ID, type, and label. So type internal ID. What is internal ID? Sublist internal ID. How you have in a sales order. If you look at in a sales order, the sublist internal ID will be items, right? For the
yeah,
items, the sublist internal will be items. Similarly, you need to give that internal ID here, sublist internal ID. Okay, this is sublist internal ID, and the type. Type means we have different options for the type, like list or inline editor or static list which you can't edit it, or editor. Okay, we have directly act. Let's see, if let's say you're adding inlay editor. So if you're adding inlay editor, that means mm, so the difference is you can able to add a lines. You can select the you can select the lines. So here, now here you can see here, you are able to select a line, right? You are able
yes,
to add existing items. So that means you need to source an items, right? Here also.
yes,
So even in the saved search, so you need to source an items because you want to get a list of items which are already there in the NetSuite. So in such case, what you have to do is, first thing is to, if you remember, as how we are adding a field to a form level, right? Form is like a body level, right?
yeah,
So for the return variable of a sublist, that means for the item sublist, I want to add a field, right? For this sublist, I want to add a field. For this sublist ID, we are adding a field of sublist field, internal ID one. So now what you want to add? Now you want to add a list of items, right? So that means you have to use select and then
yeah,
item and then item. This is a label. Select an item,
yeah,
right? So why we are using select? Because to get the list of items which are already there in the system. And and now I want to add a rate, right? Rate in the sense you can use text, right? Prefirm text. Amount you can use currency. You can use currency will be the best option because rate or currency is the best option. And, and you can use text area. Text area means you can add like description for this, and you can add Float is nothing but to add and float numbers. Okay, like quantities. Okay, so let's try and upload this now and see. Right? We're not getting the items. Why? Why we are not able to get the items? Can you guess the reason why we are unable to get the items? If you see
Mm,
in this, we're unable to get the items, right?
yeah.
We're able to see description. We're able to get amount. We're able to get rate and stuff, but not items. Mm. The reason is because of this editor. Yeah, because of this editor, I guess. Let's try to add this and see. There. Now you can able to see, add an editor, right? So
Yeah.
if you add a list, select on list and select the item group and quantity and description is something, test item and rate is 10, 10, and if you add this, it comes now here. So this is one way of sublist item where if you can add, select this and you can add, right?
Yeah. What
And
happens if it is inline? Like why it is
yeah,
offline?
yeah. So inline editor is something like, it's similar to this inline editor. Yeah. So this is if you use inline editor, this means it's a sales order. Something similar to sales order, right? If you go
Yeah.
to the sales order, how you see like like this. Similarly, the sales order also looks similar. You to go in there, select an item
Yeah.
and
Why it
select
didn't give the list previously?
previously because of this, maybe mm, because of syntactic error.
Okay. Okay.
Syntax error. Yeah. So test description 10, 10, add. You can add n number of items you like. It's similar to a sales order. So this is one sublist. So what else we have? We have another type of sublist called static list, static list or list. Okay, this is one list inline editor, and let's add this and see list of items. So you have to refresh the screen, then you will be getting. If not, you will be not getting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now if you see here, we have sublist of items and we have list of items. Okay. So list of items which you have to put in. It will be not you will be not able to access that. Okay. Sublist 2, sublist 3, and we have four types, right?
Yeah.
So we have four types. So if you give similar name, it is going to throw an error. Okay. Let's save this and go to this. It's not just an item, so you can add anything you like. You have entered invalid from element name customer load. So it says customer error. Let's see what's error. So for every field ID, normally you have to give custom page. So let's see customer number. So what it says another in this. You enter invalid element name, which must be prefaced from this. Expect underscore character. Okay. List editor and started list. Sorry. Oh, another. Yeah, it says you can't have numerical values here. Mm, so instead of item, of float. text area, currency, copy this, use this item of text. So the float. I'm giving a difference between two devices. You see, there is a duplicate, right? All
Yeah.
the fields are duplicate. That's the reason you have to have unique IDs. You can give any name you like, and if you give a proper name, then the field ID will be will be useful to understand, right? When you are using, so you can give description. Rate, amount. Okay. Now you are able to create a form, but you may be having some doubt how to get the field values now, right? Let me just check here. Form dot add field. Does it got duplicated? No. This is got duplicated. No. No. Customer. No. Even it calculates even single letter as well. So you have to be more, spot on, writing a suitelet.
Okay.
You see the complications of adding
Yeah.
a field itself on the fly. I'm not sure how it's going to come now. As you're using the same field value for all, that's the reason maybe it is having some other. Maybe, right? Isn't it? They're using the same code.
Yeah.
So, oh, I forgot to ask you. Asked me some samples of resumes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was busy, I was busy in the calls today.
Okay.
Uh, Today I had a call with one of the client, and he is one of the greatest friend of mine. So he is leaving that company. So it's been
Oh,
1 year, working for the client. So
okay.
he said, today he's resign and he's moving. It's good to have some you know client contacts.
Yes.
Right? Always. So do you have any friends in UK?
No.
So if you have this use case error in your scenario, so the best possible way to eradicate this issue is uh, try to solve it and try to resist the code and see why it is coming, right?
Yeah.
So as what I have done is I just commented something. So I commented second one, third one. Okay, and let's see why it is not coming with the third and fourth. Okay, let's try to add. Now you're able to see, right? It's
Yes.
coming,
Yes.
but the fourth ID is not coming. Let's see why it's not coming. So if it is coming now, then let's go. There's a problem with the app. It is problem with the second thought. thought. So you have to solve this by using, reducing your code, commenting, and see whether it's working or not. Then you're able to get
Yeah.
what's error, where will be the error now, right? No, the error is on second and fourth. This is where the error will be. Because if you add this, you're gonna get now. Second and fourth will be the error. Oh, second, third, and fourth, I guess. No,
Second also, but
yeah. Even second has the error.
third is good, I think.
Let's see. I guess the syntax error. I guess it's because of
Yeah.
the syntax error. Let's see the syntax because it is same for all. It's not just different. It is same for all. Okay. Sublist of items is coming. Editor is also coming. And why not static list and lists? Where we are now able to get a list and static list. What is the big difference here? We are saying select item. Item is common. Text is common. Can't we give text? Text, yeah, text is common. And what's the big deal we have? Hmm. Second is having some error. Select item, text, text and rate, float and rate, text area, description. Good. sublist. That's it interesting. Suitelets are interesting, right? Because you are creating your own form, right? It's
Yeah.
not NetSuite providing. Is it interesting? This is the shit. Holy shit. Here also we have duplicates. No, you can't have duplicates. Okay.
Yeah.
Sublist ID, item rate, description of okay. Item rate, duplicate. Can't have duplicate. Okay. So, mm, okay, now we added all the forms, list, and sublist. Okay, now we are good. But why we are unable? Why we are no? Okay. But item rate, amount, description, static list. Oh God, it should really sometimes sucks. It's very restricted. You
Yeah.
have to be more, more sure about IDs, attaching IDs and stuff. So did you had coffee early morning? Do you like to have coffee?
No.
No. Then what? What do you like then?
No. Have some milk or bread.
Oh, cool. I think you're a milk boy then. Oh, Oh man, it must be prefixed with first page, unique name, lowercase, contain any non-alphanumerical contact underscore to add the form or a sublist. Form or a sublist. These syntax errors, it really sucks.
Yeah.
Because, God,
Can we add
let's,
debug statements to know up to where it executed?
yeah, we can add. Hmm, okay. So we'll go with this and we'll see why the list is not coming in the upcoming class.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, once we add a customers, right? Once we add a customers, so how to get the data, right? Or how to validate in this form, right? Now I want to validate. Now I want to validate a body level fields, right? So to validate a body level fields, we have a client script, right? But client script runs on browser level and it can be deployed on records, right?
Yeah.
So how can you add a client script on on this form so that it can does the work like field change operation or validating a particular field or field sourcing, right? Or validate line, all the validations we have done right previously.
Yes.
So how can we do validations on this form, right? So in order to make that happen, what we have is form dot set script. This means that you're connecting Suitelet to client, so that you're stating that, so connect to a client script and do a validations. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Form dot set script, connect to client script and allows to do validations. Okay. So all the validations what we have page in it, we have a save record. Save record means on submit. Okay. And field change, you are moving from one field to another field or validating a particular field, right? All these sort of things. When it comes to line level, a recal or adding a line, validate insert, validate delete, all the operations will be working. So you can write any client script and that client script will not be deployed. So let's go to the client script. So no, no. Line to Suitelet, line from Suitelet. So if you see here, this is a Suitelet, right? So sorry, this is a client, right? So we can copy this ID. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So we can copy. You can use this ID to connect script ID.
Yes.
Okay. So by using this ID, you can connect to a client and you can do this operation. Page init, save record, validate field change. All the validations you can do.
Okay.
But this client will, there will be no deployment on this, right?
Yeah.
Because this is not a deployed on a record. So basically, we are creating a client script, but not deploying it. We are just having a proper function names, and we'll be using this client script on only on the Suitelet.
For
Okay,
any form, we don't need deployments or only suited form.
for only Suitelets.
Okay.
For only Suitelets, we don't need to deploy it on the records. If you deploy it, it is not gonna work, right?
Okay.
So you have to make sure that you have to deploy it on only one script. So you can write any logic based on your thing. We can write saved success to bring back results, or we can write anything. Okay, so let's try to do something like this. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so okay. Now let's write a client script and see whether it's working or not. Okay, so we have different client script, right? So let's use one of the client script. Well, actually, we have some examples here. Client to Suitelet, connect to client. That's user event, client to Suitelet. Uh, let's deploy our script, customization scripting script, and mm. So we have to select a client script, so which is used to validate our client side forms. Okay, you can give your own name of ID, validations, and client, and what you want to do. We have a field change. You have to copy page in it. If you have any page in it, you can copy. and this is a custom code wherein you can just save it. You're not going to deploy it, right?
Yeah.
And let's say on this text field, I just want to disable the text field of this. Okay, so let's disable this. So how you're going to disable? So on the client script, remember when we're doing page in it on the page in it, we can do something like NLP disable field, right?
Yes.
Uh, so the thing you have to remember is we have to have field IDs first to get. So this is a text field ID, right?
Yes.
So email, let's say, you can use directly an email as well. Customer email. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to get the email, so what we need to do, we need to go to the client and we have to get the customer. We have to copy here. Okay, cool. So now, what we need to do on the sales order page, first we need to, use. So let's move our, fields to in a proper way. Then you will be having more understanding. So let's try it. And first, about this into first page. First, I added this, and then this date column this. Okay. Does that look good now? Because you will see the customer email, date, currency, and names now. And even the screenshot has fitted to 100%, right? So
Yes.
now once you select the customer, you want to source automatically and email for this automatic instantly. So how to do that? So what event we can write on a client script now? If you
Field
select the
change.
customer, exactly, good. Once you select a customer, automatically you have to source an email. So here's the thing. So that means first you have to get a customer value, right? How do you get the customer email? First, you have to go to this customer record and get the email, and then we have to set it here, right?
The lookup field, right?
Exactly. So first is in order to look what is the lookup field do? It is going to the record and it will get some information about the record.
Yes.
So for that record, what you need internal ID first, the customer internal ID. So that means you have to write. So this is the customer, right? So the customer internal ID is 30469. So
Yeah.
this customer may have email ID or not, but if he has any email ID, we have to source that automatically. Where is our script? So we have to copy first a client script now, okay, and where you have to deploy it on, we have to connect to a Suitelet, right? So we have to copy script ID. Okay. Now let's write. Go to this customer and one till below job. Yeah, hey, it's working. You see,
Yeah.
working create. So it means that paging it has been triggered. Okay, there are some alerts. Yeah, you see, automatically shows, right?
Yes.
Where we have written a script, we have written a script on a client script, right? This is the
Yes.
client. Let's go to this and see what we have written. Okay. Now on a field change, what we have done is we have kept an alert first to see ID. Okay, and we are keeping a name equals to customer. Why we are keeping name equals to customer? Because you want only field change to be validated only when you select a customer, right? When it means that you don't want to script, you don't want to trigger your script for all the fields. We have plenty of fields on a sales order, right? On the screen there are plenty of fields. I have item field, I have a description, I have a date. Now, if you want to work on a particular field, we have to use this condition. It's mandatory to use if name equals to customer. What does the customer means? This is the customer ID. Where do you find this ID? We found this ID on the Suitelet. While you're creating it, you have given an ID. So you have to use that ID. Okay, and you have to first you have to get customer internal ID, right? Then you will look up. Okay, now you're looking up in an NLP lookup field, customer internal ID email. Okay, now you got the email. Okay, then where you want to put? I want to put this email on this outlet, right? Then I have to use NLP set field value to set a value for a particular field, similar to how we have done in the record. So now I want to put it on a particular field called email. So the email field value is this. Okay, so let's copy that backup code. So yeah, the email field value is this, right? Email. So I want to keep it here. So that's the reason NLP set field value. This is a field email. I'm keeping an email. So this is a sample example of connecting, Suitelet to client. Similarly, we can disable any sort of fields like NLAPI disable field. So disable field, we need to use a custom field called this, and I have to disable it. True. So let's see whether it's going to work or not. I'm pressing out here NLAPI disable field. Yeah, you see, customer email has been disabled. You can't edit and you put your own email. Once you select the customer, it will be sourced automatically, right? Yeah, you see, customer email is coming automatically. And you can outsource the customer currency as well. Currency means primary currency in the financial record. What's the primary currency for this customer? The primary currency is US dollars. Okay, so the similarly how you are getting this now. Now you want to get like this. I want to give multiple values, right? So you can use an object come on this primary currency, and customers data will be there, and this dot email. If you use this, then you're gonna get customers, and similarly. So as you are using this, you have to copy the customer field value, customer data dot currency, right? So this means that you are getting two values now on a customer record. You are getting email, you are getting currency. So you are using now to put a value customer data dot email means it returns the value of email you are putting here, you are giving here, and you can disable two fields as well. Field ID disable. Oh God, where's the uh, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm selecting a customer. Yeah. Now you see there is a difference here. You're getting a currency of one, right? So if you go
Yes.
to the customer record and if you click on here, the value you are getting is one, right? US dollar is value is one, right? Then you're
Yes.
getting a value now, but you want to display a name, right? So in order to display a name, what you can do, in order to display a name, what you can do, you can't use NLP, get fill text, right? So you can't use this. So the other way to use is where currency text equals to NLAPI. I guess you can use directly this, comma true. If you use true, this means that you're getting a text. Let's see how you're gonna get. So are you able to grab this?
Yeah.
Right? It is similar to what we have done in the client script, right?
Yes. So don't we need to submit or save to reflect the changes, like field changes,
Here,
while
no, I
grabbing
think it.
from the other form, like customer
We
form?
need, don't. Yeah, we don't need to submit because we are not modifying any data, right? We are just giving. We are just getting the data from another record, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we are not having any changes in the customer. We are just using this. So here, if you are using true, right? If you are using NLAPI, lookup field comma true, it's not going to help because it is only useful when it comes of only currencies or text. Now you want to get directly a currency, right? So that means you have to use a separate. So let me just give you customer currency. Now this will be coming here. This is one way of getting a text, right? Now if you are not giving any true, that means it takes as false. Okay, then it returns customer's email directly. That means you're getting a value, whatever the value is there in the customer record. Okay, so let's show you how. So you have to refresh the sales order because you're not going to get uh, updated value directly. Okay, now you can see now US dollar is coming, currency, and customer email is also coming, right?
Yeah.
So the only difference is if you use text true, last field, NLA will look up field last parameter as true, that means you're getting a text of a currency. If you're not giving it, that means it's a false, that means you're getting the value of a field. So the value of a field of email is customer email. I'm setting out here. Okay, now you got how to just interact with clients on Suitelet. But whatever the data you entered, right? On click of the submit button, I want to get all the data into one record, right? So in that example, what you have to look is here. Mm. Now, once you click on submit, you have to store it in some particular record, or you have to save. Right now, you want to save as a sales order record, right? Now, once you create, click on submit of a sales order, the form. You want to store it. You want to create a sales order, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So whatever we wrote up to now is a get method up to here. The get method, we're adding all the forms, fields, sublist, data, and everything, right? So we are not able to get the information of end user what is entered, right? So here, when it goes to posts is because it goes into the post when you click on a submit button, it goes into the post. Okay. So where does the submit button, you may be having some doubt. Where does we created this button? How does the button is coming? Because all the fields are explained, right? This field, every field I created it on my own, right? We have created it in each and every field. But what about the button? So if you look at the last line, we are adding a button, add submit button. This means that it's a standard submit button. Okay. After adding all the fields and values and buttons, we can add we have to give a response to that back we have to response back to that web page response dot write page of form. That means we are adding a form. Okay, so after this, once you click on the submit button, it goes into the else part. What does an else part do here? So else part is something like a post method. Okay, it's a post call. This is a get call. Okay, this is a post call. So right now, you have to get first customer. To create a sales order, what we need items and customer, right? So we have items, we have customers. So so in order to get a particular value, which API we will be using is request dot get parameter. This is the most important API we will be using in Suitelet. So we will be not using any get value, get something, nothing. We will be using only one API called request dot get parameter of the field ID. Which field ID I want to get? I want to get a customer. I want to use customer, whatever the customer created ID. So we created a customer field, right? So the customer field is having some field value. The same field value we are using to get the value. Okay. So we can write log executions to see where up to where it has been executed. So okay, now we got the customer ID. Okay, now good. Now if you add 10 lines, you want to get 10 lines, right? So if you want to get a 10 lines, what we have to do, we have to first get the count. We have to know how much is the maximum count or length we entered. So that's the reason we'll be using what we're using request dot get line item. The second API in Suitelet we'll be using is request dot get line item. That means we are getting the count of the list. Okay, so we're getting the count of list. So if you have 10 items, you'll be getting the count 10. Okay. After getting the count, you have to loop it to get each and every line, line 1, line 2, line 3, right? So that's the reason we are using request dot get line item value. Similar to record dot get line item value, we are using request dot get line item value. Same API. We are not changing any API. So it is totally an object. Request is nothing but an object here. How we have a record dot get line item value, record dot set line item value, or select line item value, right? Remember? Hello,
Yeah.
hello, Sharad. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are using request dot get line item value. What does request dot get line item value does? It's used to get the line information, right?
Yes.
So to get the line information, what we need parameters like What's the first parameter? Sublist ID. Second parameter, field ID. So sublist ID will be what we have given. So this is a sublist ID, right? And the second will be the field ID. Item field ID is item, and then line number. Remember, this was we was using several times past in a few days. Okay,
Yes.
we get the item internal ID now. Why we are getting why we are getting line information? Because to create a sales order, we need items, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So we got the item internal ID. We have to have each and every related details like quantity, description, rate as well. So that's the reason we are getting all the information. And at the same time, what we are actually doing is we are creating a record. See, we are creating a record of a sales order. By using the sales order, what we are doing, we are setting a value customer ID. Where does customer ID comes? This is the customer ID, right? So for this customer, we are creating and we are adding lines one by one. How to add a lines, right? So this is how we will be adding a lines. Select new line item, set current line item, commit line item. So if you have 10 items, sales order will be created for 10 items, right? On the same loop. After adding all the lines, we are submitting the SO record, right? Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Do you have any doubts up to now?
No. It's good.
Right? Is it clear?
Yeah.
So we are creating a sales order even though if you don't have login. If you enter any of the customer, if you enter any lines, n number of lines, we are creating a sales order. So let's see how it goes. Okay. So sales order form, go and edit. Okay, for this customer. Oh no. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Now let's add an item. So and you need to also remember that whatever we are adding, right? We are adding an items. So it must be under same subsidiary. If you have different subsidiary, you're not going to create. Remember. So the item subsidiary must be same and the customer subsidiary must be same. If the both are different, you're not going to create a sales order. It's going to throw us an error, invalid subsidiary key reference. If you go to the customer record, what's the primary subsidiary? Atlanta. And if you go to this item, what is the primary subsidiary? Atlanta. So that must be same. Okay. And if I add this, submit this, so it has to create a sales order now. Please enter the value of, oh shit. It says line level something. So, sorry, 2938. So we can create a sales order by a form for a particular form. On a particular form, you can create. So if you go now to the else part, and so how to add a form? Do you know how to set a form?
Oh
Similar
no.
to Similar how we are setting here a customer, right? How we are setting a customer here. Similarly, we will be adding a form. This is the form ID. Okay. F- First thing first, we have to add form, and then we are adding this. So let's see how it goes. And yeah, it says SO is created. Okay. So if you go to this and see the SO internal ID, this is the SO sales or internal ID which is got generated. So let's go to the sales order, sales, sales order list. So we are gonna wrap the session just before this. We're just seeing whether the sales order is created for exact what we have created, right? For the customer, same item must be there. Okay. Source for the report. Yeah, this is the one. So if you edit the sales order, now you can see the difference between the context how it got created. Yeah. Okay. Now you see same customer. I've selected this form, so that's the reason custom form is came something like this. For the same customer, I selected pink pens for the quantity one, for the rate 10. Everything looks good, right? Everything is as selected. We have created a sales order, and you can check it out in the system information how it got created. You can see the context is Suitelet because we have created from a Suitelet, right? So that's one good way of seeing whether it got created or not. You can verify it. So this is one example how we are creating a sales orders. Even though if you don't have login, you can check it out on this by going to the deployment page, and you can give this URL to you or to any person. If you don't have login as well, you can go into this link and you can create you can create a sales order, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any queries now? Good.
Yeah. So,
Good. Try to read this. Try to read the Suitelets, the functionalities, how we have done now, and try to replicate. Try to create a purchase order. Right now, how we are creating a sales order, right?
yes.
So, try to create a form similar to this, a purchase order form. Okay, and the difference is you must have some customer items. Okay, once you click on the save button, you have to create a purchase order. Okay.